In 1918, Wittgenstein was promoted to officer and transferred to the Italian front. Somehow he had managed to correspond intermittently with his friend David Pinsent throughout the war, but he now received news that Pinsent had been killed. "I want to tell you how much he loved you up to the last," wrote Pinsent's mother, oblivious to the irony of her remark. All the evidence indicates that Pinsent remained unaware of the true nature of Wittgenstein's feelings for him. Wittgenstein wrote back to her that David was "my first and my only friend." He was to dedicate his first great work to David Pinsent's memory. In 1918, the Austro-Hungarian war effort came to an end in ignoble surrender. In Italy, many of the Austrian officers simply boarded a train back to Austria, abandoning their men to their fate. But not Lieutenant Wittgenstein, who would have been incapable of such an act. It's almost impossible to exaggerate how much Wittgenstein's life was driven by principle. His moments of greatest despair always came when he temporarily relaxed and was able to see how far below his impossibly high principles his life was falling. When Wittgenstein was taken prisoner by the Italians, he had in his rucksack the only manuscript of the philosophical work he had been writing throughout the war. This was eventually to be called Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, and is the first great philosophical work of the modern era. Right from its opening sentences, it becomes obvious that philosophy has entered a new stage. 1. The world is all that is the case. 1.1. The world is the totality of facts, not of things. One clear, ringing assertion follows another, linked by the absolute minimum of justification or argument. 1.13. The facts in logical space are the world. 1.2. The world divides into facts. The book's conclusion is even more memorable. 7. What we cannot speak about, we must pass over in silence. Few others have altered the course of philosophy in quite so striking a fashion. Such succinct perspicacity is surpassed only by Socrates, "Know thyself," Descartes, "I think, therefore I am," and Nietzsche, "God is dead." In those parts where it is not too technical, in the logical sense, Wittgenstein's Tractatus is the most exciting work of philosophy ever written. Its clarity and daring leaps of argument make it at times almost poetic, as do many of its conclusions, and its basic idea is simple to grasp. The Tractatus is an attempt to delineate what we can talk about in a meaningful manner. This leads to the question, what is language? Wittgenstein claims that language gives us a picture of the world. This idea had been inspired by a newspaper report he had read about a court case in which model cars had been used to represent an accident. The model cars were like language describing the actual state of affairs. They pictured what had happened. But most important, they shared the same logical form. They both obeyed the rules of logic. The model cars, language, could also be used to describe all possibilities: near miss, traffic jam, absence of car that was alleged to have caused the accident, and so forth. But they could not describe two cars occupying the same space at once, or one car occupying two separate spaces at once. Logical form prevented this, both in reality and in language. When it's analyzed down to its atomic propositions, language consists of pictures of reality. In this way, propositions can represent the whole of reality, all facts, because propositions and reality have the same logical form. They cannot be illogical. The limits of language are the limits of thought, because this too cannot be illogical. We cannot go beyond language, for to do so would be to go beyond the limits of logical possibility. The logical propositions of language are a picture of the world, and can be nothing else. They can say nothing about anything else. This means that certain things simply cannot be said. Unfortunately, the assertions in the Tractatus fall into this category. These assertions